The rain was falling hard on the dirt road when the door of the big house slammed for the last time. Marli stood there, with both hands on her 9-month pregnant belly, feeling the cold of the night enter under her wet dress. "You cannot do this," she said, her voice trembling more from pain than from fear. "I have nowhere to go." From the other side of the door, Donna Zulmira's voice came out dry, without hesitation. "This house was never yours, Marli, and it will not be for the son you carry either. There is no room here for someone who only brought disgrace to this family." Marli looked at her own empty hands. She had not brought anything from that house. She carried only an embroidered handkerchief made by her mother many years before, pressed against her chest as if it were the last proof that someone had once loved her without asking for anything in return. She went down the 3 steps of the veranda alone, feeling the first strong pang go down her back. The child inside her seemed to move, as if it had also understood that the world, from that night onward, would be more difficult. Years later, when the gate of that same farm was opened again for her, no one inside there would imagine that the woman who arrived, with her head held high, was the same one who had been thrown onto the road, pregnant, in the rain, by order of her own mother. But to reach that day, it was necessary to go back a little in time. This is Canalcri, the place where the strongest stories from real life gain a voice. Stories of simple people who face injustice, lose everything, and even so, find the strength to rebuild their own life with their own hands. Today's story talks about pain, about the loneliness of those who were rejected by their own family, but also about the silent strength of those who never stopped believing in the value of work, loyalty, and love. If you also believe that life knows how to reward those who persist with dignity, stay until the end, because this story will move you. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment, because that helps us a lot to continue telling these stories for you. Come with me, and I will tell you this story. Marli Vasconcelos grew up in a small house, daughter of a widowed seamstress who raised her daughter alone, with the little she earned repairing other people's clothes. They had no farm, no cattle, no surname that opened doors. They had, yes, each other, and a way of living with dignity, even when almost everything was missing. It was at a harvest festival in Terrellón that Marli met Renato Prado, only son of Donna Zulmira, owner of one of the largest coffee farms in the area. Renato did not seem like the son of a rich farmer. He was a simple man in the way he spoke. He liked to work on the land alongside the employees. And from the first day he talked to Marli, he told her that he had never seen anyone laugh in such a true way. They dated for 2 years, hidden from Renato's mother, because he knew how demanding Donna Zulmira was regarding who should, one day, inherit the farm by her side. When he finally told his mother that he intended to marry Marli, the answer came harsh. "You're going to throw away everything this family built for a girl with nothing. She only wants what you have, my son. Open your eyes." Renato did not give up his own heart. They got married in a simple ceremony, without a big party, because Donna Zulmira refused to pay for anything that celebrated that union. Even so, they were happy. Renato took Marli to live in the main house of the farm, against his mother's will, saying that it was also his home, and that one day his wife would be treated with the respect she deserved. For a year, Marli learned to deal with the heavy silence at dinners, with Donna Zulmira's indirect comments about people who were not born to live in that standard, with the way her mother-in-law pretended she was not in the room. She endured everything in the name of the love she felt for Renato, and also because, little by little, she was learning to take care of the land, the animals, the farm accounts, with a dedication that impressed even the oldest employees. When she discovered she was pregnant, Marli thought that would change something in her mother-in-law's heart. For a brief moment, it seemed so. Donna Zulmira even touched her daughter-in-law's belly with moist eyes, saying that this would be the first grandchild, the heir to the family name. But the joy lasted little. On a late afternoon, Renato went to help fix a fence that had fallen on the edge of the property after days of heavy rain. The ground was soaked. He slipped on a low embankment, hit his head on a stone, and even though he was helped in time, he did not resist the internal injuries. He died 3 days later in a hospital bed, holding Marli's hand and asking, with the little strength he had, that she'd take care of the son who was to come. From that day on, Dana Zulmira changed. The pain of the loss, instead of bringing her closer to Marli, turned into anger. She began to repeat to anyone who would listen that if her son had not married on a whim, he would never have taken on so many responsibilities alone on the farm. He would never have gone to that fence at the end of that afternoon. She blamed Marli for her own son's death, even knowing, deep down, that it made no sense at all. Marli's pregnancy advanced, but the atmosphere inside the house became unbearable. On a stormy night, 6 months after Renato's burial, Donna Zulmira called Marli to the living room and told her, without mincing words, that it was time for her to leave the farm. "This house is mine. It always was, and I will not raise, under my roof, the son of a marriage that should never have happened." Marli tried to argue, said that that baby was her grandson, blood of Renato himself, but Donna Zulmira had already decided. She ordered one of the employees to take Marli's few things to the gate and close the door. That was how Marli found herself, 9 months pregnant, alone on the dirt road in the rain, with nothing but an embroidered handkerchief made by her mother and the memory of Renato's last words, "Take care of our son." Marli walked as much as she could that night, until her legs could no longer hold and she leaned on a wire fence so as not to fall. It was there that Miss Tomas Ribeiro, a 62-year-old widowed farmer, owner of a small neighboring farm, found her when he was returning by cart from a visit to a relative. Tomas did not ask questions at that moment. He helped Marli climb into the cart and took her straight home, where his sister, Donna Irachi, a woman of almost 70 years old, with firm hands and an even firmer heart, took care of her all night. It was Irachi who helped Marli give birth, a few days later, to a strong and healthy boy, whom Marli named Davi, in honor of Renato's grandfather, the only one in the family who, in life, had always treated her with respect. Tomas and Irachi had no children. Their small farm was well cared for, with some head of cattle, a vegetable garden, and an orchard that Irachi had maintained for decades. They offered Marli a place to live, without charging anything in return, besides what she herself wanted to give in work. "Here no one will ask you where you came from," said Tomas on the first morning, while Marli, still weak, held her newborn son. "What matters is where you want to go." Marli cried a lot in those first months, but she never stopped working. She learned to milk, to take care of the garden, to make cheese, to repair fences, to handle the accounts of the small farm. Tomas, little by little, taught her everything he knew about the land, about the right time to plant coffee, about how to negotiate properly at the fair in the neighboring city, about how to take care of a herd without depending on anyone. Davi grew up running among the plantations, calling Tomas Grandpa, Tomas and Irachi, Grandma Irachi, because for him, since he was very small, that was the only family he knew. Marli never hid the truth about the father from her son. She told stories of Renato every night, showed the portrait she kept inside the embroidered handkerchief, always said the same phrase that her own mother had taught her: "Whoever plants with love harvests roots that no one can pull out." While Marli rebuilt her life with her own hands, the Prado farm was slowly declining. Without her son to manage the heavy work, Donna Zulmira hired a manager who, over the years, diverted money and let the coffee plantation be lost due to lack of care. The debts grew. The old employees left, one by one, tired of months without receiving on time. Donna Zulmira, too proud to ask for help from any neighbor, became more and more alone inside that big house, surrounded by silence and regret that she never said out loud. Marli, on the other side of the road, became known in the region for her seriousness at work. She started selling cheese and vegetables at the fair, then began supplying small markets in the city. She saved penny by penny, always guided by Tomas, until she managed to buy a small strip of land next to the farm where she planted her own coffee, this time with her name on the paper. An old neighbor from the farm, seeing her working in the fields one morning, commented, without malice, "Who would have thought, Marli, that the girl thrown on the road would become a landowner?" She just smiled, without answering, with her hand on the embroidered handkerchief she still kept, now folded inside the pocket of her work apron. 18 years passed. Davi was already a 19-year-old young man, studying rural administration in the city, always returning on weekends to help his mother and grandfather, Thomas Nan, an 80-year-old man with frailer health, but the same kind way as always. Marli, at 43 years old, was no longer the humble girl expelled on a rainy night. She was known throughout the region as one of the most respected coffee producers, owner of lands conquered with her own sweat, always remembered for her given word and care for those who worked for her. It was on a common morning that the news arrived. The old Prado farm would be put up for auction to pay the debts accumulated over almost 2 decades of poor management. Donna Zulmira, now 79 years old, sick and practically alone, no longer had a way to hold on to that land. Marli remained silent for a long time, sitting on the veranda of the small farm, looking at the horizon. Tomas, already having difficulty walking, sat down next to her. "You owe nothing to that woman," he said, carefully. "But I know you, Marli. I know you are already thinking about something. It is not revenge, Mr. Tomas," she replied, squeezing the embroidered handkerchief she still always carried with her. "It is that land was also my husband's land. It is the land where my son should have been born, if things had been different. I do not want to take anything from anyone. I want, for the first time, to have the right to choose what happens to that place." With years of honest work, good relations with coffee buyers, and the support of the regional bank, which trusted her name, Marli made the highest bid at the auction and became, officially, the new owner of the Prado farm. The news spread quickly through the region. When Marli arrived at the gate of the old farm, this time driving her own car, she found Donna Zulmira sitting on the veranda, aged, with trembling hands resting on her cane, without strength even to get up in front of the new owner of the property. "You came to see me fall once and for all," said Zulmira, without raising her eyes. Marli walked close to her and sat on the same steps where, so many years before, she had gone down for the last time, pregnant, in the rain. "I came because this was also my husband's house," replied Marli, with a firm voice, but without anger. "And it is the house that my son, your grandson, will truly get to know now." Zulmira finally looked at her, with eyes full of tears that she had not let anyone see for a long time. "I was so afraid of losing the little that remained of my son, that I was capable of throwing away the only part of him that continued alive. I will never deserve forgiveness for that." "No one said that you deserve it," replied Marli, calmly. "But Davi deserves to know the complete story of his family, and I do not want him to grow up carrying the same hatred that you carried all your life." Marli offered Donna Zulmira a room in the main house of the farm, not out of obligation, but because, as she herself said, no one should grow old and die alone. Not even those who once erred so badly. Zulmira accepted, in silence, and in the following months, little by little, she got to know the grandson she had rejected even before he was born. Davi, already a young man, treated his grandmother with a respect she never imagined she deserved. He did not hide the pain of everything his mother had suffered, but he also did not want to grow up carrying a grudge that was not his to carry. On Sundays, the whole family gathered on the veranda of the farm. Marli, Davi, Tomas, and Irachi, and, little by little, also Zulmira, who learned to sit among them without the old pride that had isolated her for so many years. Marli never stopped keeping the embroidered handkerchief made by her own mother. One day, sitting on the same veranda where she had been expelled, she placed it in her son's hands and told, for the first time in detail, the entire story. The love for Renato, the pain of the loss, the night of the rain, the kindness of Tomas and Irachi. The work of each day until reaching there. "Keep this, my son," she said, "not because this land is worth more than anything else, but because it proves that roots planted with love and honest work no one can pull out. This story shows a truth that life teaches, sooner or later, to almost everyone. The pain of an injustice can even knock a person down for a while, but it does not define who she will become." Marli could have let hatred guide every decision after that rainy night. She could have used the conquered farm as an instrument of revenge, Instead, she chose to transform her own suffering into strength, and strength into dignity. The true wealth of this story is not in the farm she conquered, but in the family she built along the way, with people who had no blood obligation, but who chose to love anyway. And it is also in her ability to offer, in the end, what she never received: a safe place, even for those who once expelled her to the street. The question remains, for you who are listening: how many times has life knocked you down in a way that seemed impossible to get up again? And, more importantly, what have you done with the strength that remained after the fall? If this story touched your heart, leave below in the comments the part that moved you the most. Subscribe to Canal Cree so you do not miss the next stories, because every week there's a new one here waiting for you. A hug, and until the next story.